Thank you for calling the Starfinder Helpdesk. I'm Goat King, and you say you're having trouble with pirates getting the better of you in your spaceship? I'm sure we can fix that. First, I want to point out a cheat sheet that I found on Reddit. There will be a link to the original post as well as a link to my Discord where you will find an updated version of it with the errata specifically for the DCs affecting the chief mate. As the chief mate, there are only a few things you need to know from your character sheet in order to play the role. The first is either your acrobatics or athletics skill bonus. Pick the better of the two. As you get to higher levels, once you reach level 6, you'll need to know how many ranks you have in the skill you've chosen, as well as how many resolve points you have at the time. As the chief mate, it may be surprising to say there's very little you need to know about the Starship itself. As the chief mate, your primary job will be to step in and push the ship past its safe limits to help your teammates. And this is really going to require you to pay attention to the course of the battle and to have an idea of what your ship, what your team has been struggling with. So you can step in at those points and help make a difference. As the chief mate, you'll take your one action per turn helping your teammates. Several of the actions you have access to are push actions. Push actions require that the system of the ship that you are using during the action, be it sensors, engines, weapons, is functional. If the system is malfunctioning or wrecked, you cannot perform a push action. All of your actions will either take place at the beginning of the engineering phase or at the beginning of the helm phase, depending on which crewmate you specifically are aiding. Hard turn is an action meant specifically for aiding your pilot. It is a push action, and the DC to perform a hard turn is 10 plus 1.5 times your starship's tier. If you succeed the hard turn action, during the pilot's action, while they're flying, they can make one turn as though the ship had a maneuverability 1 better. If you fail this check by 10, all of the turns they make during their movement treat the ship as if it was 1 point worse in maneuverability. Then we have maintenance panel access. This is taken during the engineer phase. It has a DC 10 plus 1.5 times the starship tier. If you succeed the maintenance panel access, you allow your engineer to divert power or overpower one extra system. This system has to be different from the system or systems they're already diverting to and overpowering. If you fail by 10, the engineer instead takes a -2 on their checks for that round. Next is manual realignment. This takes place at the beginning of the helm phase. With the DC 10 plus 1.5 the starship's tier, you're aiding the science officer. You do this when they are attempting to scan an enemy ship to find out more about it. If you succeed, they learn one additional piece of information on top of what they're already going to learn. If you fail, they instead cannot take a scanning action that turn. Targeting aid is an action you gain access to at level 6 or later. In order to have access to it, you have to have at least 6 ranks in either your acrobatics or athletics skill. Targeting aid takes place during the engineering phase. It is also a push action, and it requires a resolve point in order to use it. The DC is 15 plus 1.5 the starship tier, and when you succeed, when it gets to the gunnery phase, one gunner is allowed to make either a broadside or fire at will action without taking the penalty for the multiple attacks. If you fail, they take a -2 in addition to any other penalties they may acquire during their attacks. Maximize speed is the final action you gain access to as a chief mate. You gain access to this one at or shortly after 12th level when you get 12 ranks in either acrobatics or athletics. Maximize speed takes place during the helm phase. It is a push action and it requires 1 resolve point. The DC is 20 plus 1 1/2 your starship tier. If you succeed this check, the base speed for your starship increases by 2. This speed increase is cumulative with other speed boosts. Thank you for calling the Starfinder Helpdesk. I'm Goat King, and maybe now you'll be able to pull the edge on those pirates. Have a great day.